Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, where we're going to learn how to improve the performances, the security, and the availability of your applications in the cloud. So today we're here with Brad from TrackIt, our president, who will introduce the company. Then we will be with Victor, senior solutions architect, also at TrackIt, who will present some use cases around the service Global Accelerator from AWS, which will be introduced beforehand thanks to Sanchit Kandaka, specialist senior solutions architect at AWS. So I propose that, Brad, you can kick off this webinar and start with the introduction. So thank you, everybody who joined the webinar, and let's go.
Thanks, Alexander. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're attending our webinar. Hopefully you learned something out of it, and I think you will. There's some good content underneath. So really quickly, let me give you an overview of TrackIt, who we are, what we do. So we are a 10-year-old, what's called advanced tier services partner for AWS. Essentially means that we're a systems integrator and software development company. From a software development side, we specialize in building cloud-native software. You might have heard the terms serverless or event-driven, containerization. These are things that we do very often, and generally they overlap with the other part of our business, which is building pipelines and optimizing pipelines inside of AWS. Company is located in Los Angeles. We have teams here in the West Coast of the United States, team in Brazil, large team in France, and are proud and happy to be an AWS partner. And as you can see from the slide below, we have quite a number of specialties and delivery capabilities that and competencies that have been given our stamp of approval by AWS, not the least of which are our capabilities around content delivery networks, security at the edge, optimization at the edge as well. So you can go to the next slide. So if you look at what we really focus on, I already mentioned software development. We do have a specialty in media workflows, but as part of media workflows, it naturally flows into the work we do at the edge, content delivery, which naturally flows into security at the edge. So from a standpoint of media workflows, some workflows are easy to distribute, some are hard. Things like video, especially high quality video with low latency requirements are hard. But we know how to do that. We're using the AWS tools available to us and understand how to build, optimize, and cost manage those environments all the way out through the content delivery network, as with security as a core part of that delivery. I'm going to wrap up quickly here, just from a company standpoint. Been around for a long time already as a company. We've got a bunch of great customer logos that range from everything from large enterprises like Paramount, for example, other big studios, Disney, other folks, to other companies that are more cloud native or cloud first companies that really rely on the availability, the performance, and the security of their delivery infrastructure. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Victor, who can actually get to the good stuff, the technical part about how to all make it happen. I'll make it happen. Victor, you're muted.
Yeah, so for Global Accelerator, so some of the use cases that it can help with, so focusing on all the global use cases that are not agnostic to any specific industries. So we'll have a global reach, meaning that we can reach into a lot of new markets without the need to commit to building infra there. We'll be able to expand to new countries without any repercussion on financially. With this we have a lot of flexibility that it grants us to be able to respond to changes in in the world scene and to be able to evolve with that. And on the other hand, it will help you with high availability and disaster recovery, routing, because Global Accelerator will do some health checks automatically, and it will be able to route you to the nearest LCL point, and being totally transparent as it happens behind the entry point of Global Accelerator. And you can also, because Global Accelerator is a single IP entry point, and everything is transparent, and it can work with services that are that cannot use DNS names, because usually origin failover is used using DNS. But if you cannot use DNS for that, if you need static IPs that are embedded somewhere, or you use protocols that cannot use DNS, then you have the possibility of still having the high availability even in those cases. And then we reach into some of the use cases that are more tailored to some industries, because some industries have different needs. So there is a few that comes to mind that have really strong need for the service that Global Accelerator provides. The first of it which comes to mind is gaming, especially multiplayer gaming, where you have players connecting back to a server. And we know that if you are doing real-time gaming, anything that requires real-time between multiple players, latency can become a really problematic thing very quickly. And not just latency, but also jitter, so like how much your latency changes. Because if you have a baseline latency and then you have some spikes, which can happen during using the internet, the public internet, then it's almost as bad as having the worst latency all the time. So Global Accelerator in those use cases can help us alleviate a lot of those latency issues, and also help us coordinate if we have players from different geographic parts of the world playing together. Global Accelerator will be able to provide a lower latency for global players. And this in turn leads to higher player retention because of higher satisfaction because of lower latency. Then another use case that we can have for Global Accelerator would be in the M&E, so media and entertainment business, where you have live, especially for live video, because again, like gaming, because live video is by definition live, it really responds badly to spikes in latency, congestion that can happen on the global internet, that can create bottlenecks of throughput, and then you can have drops in quality, drop frames, and in case lower client satisfaction. And this can be for on both sides of the media pipeline. So of course for delivery, so that the client connect to the server, and then you can optimize that part of the path, but you can also have it on the engine side of it, because this also can be very tricky. If you have, for example, imagine you are filming in a stadium, and you need to get back the live video feed to your rendering farm, your transcoding farm, and then to clients. If you have any congestion of that on that link, then you can have dropouts, but for all players instead of for all clients, instead of just having, for example, one client that had some congestion and can see it. Now everyone cannot see it all at the same time. So this at the agent side, it's even more sensitive. So it can help you alleviate some of those issues. Then we can have an example of e-commerce. So e-commerce, let's look at it once again. You can look at it in the global reach that Global Accelerator allows. Then if you, for example, if you want someone that is not in the same market to be able to access your website, it can help you have a more consistent experience. But also something that you might not think about is, for example, when you have Black Friday. A lot of people are going on the internet at the same time. And this can, because it's a public internet, then you can have a lot of congestion issues. And if you are using Global Accelerator to help you route your traffic through AWS backbone, then you can have an edge on your competitor because you can actually have a lower latency from the end user perspective. So it's gonna help you maintain consistent latency and consistent experience, even when you have spiking traffic in the global internet. So not even just on your side, but because everyone is doing it at the same time next to you, then you have a global congestion. And then using those global accelerator links, you can help alleviate a lot of that. So now that we've seen some of the industries in which it can help, now we can build a lot on that and see what business value it brings. So we kind of touched on it on the previous part, but we will recap that. So the first one is enhance user experience, both geographical and just local performances. So we'll have faster application, better responsiveness, and consistent experience wherever you are in the world. You will then have increased reliability because of the health checks that Global Accelerator puts in place. So you can have automatic failovers, and you will reduce the risk of lost revenue. It will help you put in place your high availability, resilient infrastructure, and as such, help you again have a better user experience. Another big value is simplified management that can come a lot into play because Global Accelerator is a single IP address that's the entry point of all your traffic. It will help a lot with managing DNS record, network management, anything like that, because once again, you only have one static IPs and everything else is handled after that. So load balancing between multiple origin failovers, everything is handled after, and is transparent to the networking that goes on before. So you can have a single entry point for all your infrastructure. You don't have to deal a lot with DNS records. That can be tricky if you are deploying on multiple parts of the world to do geographical routing of your infrastructure. Global Accelerator will take care of that. And yeah, this in the long time, this saves you times in configuration and helps you reduce the load of the work that's required to manage your infrastructure. And also what it brings as well is improved security. So Global Accelerator is compatible with Shield, AWS Shield. It comes with just Shield standard as a base. So it will provide you with basic DDoS protection. You can also have Shield Advanced if you are more at risk of those type of attacks. And this is compatible with Global Accelerator, as well as since you only have one entry point, you have lower attack surface by definition. So it's going to be easier to see the traffic that comes in and comes out and to protect against that. And because it is globally distributed as well, that's something that the security will stay there even if you start scaling globally. And so even if you start local, set it up, and then want to expand globally, your security attack surface won't go with it, and it will help you keep your security without improvement in workload to maintain it. And then some more down-to-earth information on how actually to deploy it and leverage it. So the first point is that it integrates because it is an AWS product, it is managed AWS product, and so it integrates seamlessly with pretty much all entry points you could have on your AWS infrastructure. So EC2 instances, ELB or ALB, CloudFront distributions, anything that you can point it to pretty much anything in AWS. You don't need to redesign any of your infrastructure to be able to leverage it. You can just enable it and point your traffic to it. The setup is really easy to do. You just go to the console, enable it, configure which endpoint you want it to send the traffic to. It works out of the box. You can configure it a bit more deeply with health check, load balancing between different origins, but just you can start it in a few minutes. You can have it up and running in a few minutes, having a multicast IP assigned to you, and you can start working on it. So that's really a good gain, because a good thing, because then it's easy to experiment with it. It is a pay-as-you-go service, so you pay for the traffic that goes through it, as well as how long it's enabled. I think you pay for the hours that it's enabled and the traffic that goes through it. So you don't have any long-term commitments. You don't have any upfront costs. So you can start experimenting on small subset of traffic, and then scale if you want to, or then if you don't want it, you can just say, okay, I don't actually need this, but it's enabling you to really easily experiment with it and see if it's a good fit for you. And finally, something that's also really, really nice with it is that you immediately see the result. Because you just enable it, and you can start sending traffic right away. And then you can start measuring, if you have any tools to do that, you can start measuring latency to load websites, anything like that. You can do some testing, and you don't have to have a long wait period to be able to see, okay, was this a good idea? Was this not a good idea? You can just enable it, test it out, because again, it's pay as you go and it's easy to set up. So even say a week, you can just set it up with a team or with us if you need any help with that. And you can say, okay, we've enabled it. We tested it with some of our clients, for example, in the other part of the world that were having issue. Testing it, we saw, okay, big reduction in latency. Does it make sense to use it? Okay, it does, and then you can just keep it up. And with that, I think I will hand it over to Francis to go over a bit of a more technical side from AWS.
Sounds good. Thanks, Victor. Appreciate the time. I'll start sharing my screen right now at the presentation, and we should be seeing a AWS Global Accelerator. So AWS Global Accelerator, or AGA, as we call it for short, is a global networking service from AWS that helps improve the performance and the availability of your applications, primarily dynamic applications. And Victor went over a lot of different points in terms of technical benefits and the business benefits that you gain from adopting AGA. I'll go into a little bit of okay, I know what the benefits are. I understand what the business use cases could be. How does that look like behind the scenes? So we'll lift the curtains off a little bit and see just an overview of AGA. There's additional documentation available on the AWS documentation site, or you can also reach out to your partner or your AWS account teams for more information on this. So in today's world, what do customers want, specifically when it comes to dynamic applications and globally distributed applications or globally delivered applications? You want to be able to connect users to applications as fast as possible. That's the speed that Victor mentioned. Globally scale out these applications, and also the availability of these systems with the ability to fail over to alternate sources or origins or application endpoints if one of the endpoints is not available. So these are some of the requirements that customers see today. The challenges around those is IP caches in client applications. They can be unreliable. It could be like, DNS caching, or it could be a specific static IP mapping. Routing over the public internet is very inefficient. It leads to inconsistent performance. So there could be challenges there in terms of public internet routing, and then complex IP configurations. So if you have to maintain multiple IP addresses to route applications and how end users connect to it, if it's like a global load balancing, you don't want to be in the business of managing all these IP configurations to route end users to the appropriate application endpoints and geographies closest to them. So that's where AWS Global Accelerator comes into picture. Like I said, it's a networking service that improves the availability and performance of applications with global reach. So a client end user is mapped to the closest global accelerator endpoint, and over the AWS backbone, they reach out to AWS applications that are hosted in any of the multiple AWS regions. So going into a little more detail on what some of the features, I know that Victor mentioned some of the features already. Just to reiterate, it provides static IP addresses as a fixed entry point to applications. So these can be used in sort of like a very deterministic IP address that could be used for like allow listing in some firewalls rules, or it removes the complexity of managing multiple IP addresses. It improves performance for TCP and UDP traffic, and the targets for those the origins basically for Global Accelerator could be application load balancer, ALBs, network load balancer, or EC2 instances. So there are multiple options. And again, you would talk with your partner to understand how your application is set up. That way you can essentially configure these targets. Traffic failover in less than 30 seconds provides you with an instantaneous ability to move from an unhealthy endpoint to a healthy endpoint to maintain customer satisfaction. And lastly is you can move endpoints between availability zones and regions with no change to the client DNS config. That goes back to that static IP addresses. And all traffic traverses the AWS backbone. So you're getting the benefit of removal of that uncertainty due to the public IP routing. Global accelerator terminology, there are accelerator IPs. With every provisioned global accelerator, you get 2 Anycast IP addresses globally. Listeners are what you basically configure as what are the ports and the protocols that accelerator that must support. And then finally, the endpoint groups. These could be groups of, could be more than 2 endpoints. And like we went back to the global availability topic, you can have one endpoint like an ALB and a set of ALBs in US East 1, for example, and then a set of NLBs in EU West. So you can split these endpoints into endpoint groups and configure them in multiple availability zones or regions. Without AWS Global Accelerator, your client traffic is traveling over the public internet to one of these 2 endpoints that we sort of mentioned already. So these 2 application endpoints are in 2 different regions to provide better performance, but you still have to manage the IP address mapping to these application endpoints depending on where your end users are coming from. With Global Accelerator, you get a performance benefit by also being able to respond to those requests over over just 2 IP addresses and global Anycast IP addresses. So looking at like an average 100 KB object, third-party measurement, your P50 times are mentioned here. You're getting about like 50 to 60% performance improvement. Obviously, it will all change with the type of traffic and type of application, but this is like even a 50% to 60% performance improvement makes really good numbers for end user experience. So that's just a very brief technical overview of what Global Accelerator terminology, concepts, and some of the, what that would look like. Finally, when you look at AWS Global Services, there are a couple of other edge services that you might come across, mainly Route 53 and Amazon CloudFront. And I'm just highlighting some of the differences between CloudFront and Global Accelerator. So CloudFront primarily deals with layer 7 traffic acceleration or caching. Global Accelerator is mainly focused on layers 4 TCP UDP traffic acceleration, or as like a global traffic manager where you can route traffic to different targets and points. Protocol supports content caching is only available with Amazon CloudFront, because again, like Global Accelerator is operating on a layer 4 level, and Global Accelerator has Anycast, which has its own benefit in terms of routing end users to the optimal location. For CloudFront, we use more of a DNS-based load balancing based on dynamic load and most optimal edge location closest to the end users. I won't go into more specific other additional details because there is just quite a lot of topics there in terms of understanding what are some of the application use cases, and that's where partners come into picture, where they can help you with understanding what kind of applications are suitable for which type of edge service. Finally, a brief description, summary of differences between Route 53 and Global Accelerator. Route 53 offers a sort of load balancing, but it's primarily DNS-based geo-routing. Global Accelerator provide an additional benefit of global traffic management, but also while also enabling application traffic acceleration also, which DNS or Route 53 does not provide. When to use Global Accelerator, some key differences in terms of what kind of applications. If you're looking at like non-HTTP applications like gaming traffic, which are latency sensitive, and that's also one of the topics that Victor brought up earlier was about, you want to have gaming traffic have the lowest amount of latency. And this is especially directly tied to customer satisfaction, right? So you don't want to be, slow when you're playing an online game that are like, web enabled. So that's really helpful. And then there are some other additional, TCP or UDP based applications that really benefit from the acceleration benefits of Global Accelerator. There are some HTTP applications as well that could benefit, but again, it requires an understanding of the type of application and if it's something that can benefit either from CloudFront or Global Accelerator. That's my short take on some of the key technical concepts and some of the technical benefits, expanding on what was already mentioned in the earlier section. Happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our amazing speakers, and thank you very much for attending this webinar. So we're now going to host a little Q&A session. So if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the chat, and our expert will answer you. In the meantime, if you can fill in the little survey, it'll be amazing, so we can get your feedback and improve for our upcoming webinars. And also, if you have any kind of project on AWS that can be a migration of your CDN or migrating any applications from on-prem to AWS, feel free to reach out to the TrackIt team with the QR code here, and we'll be delighted to discuss your product with you. And a little gift from us, if you contact us saying that you come from the webinar, we will offer you a free audit of your AWS infrastructure. So thank you again. And if you have any question, feel free to ask them. I'm not seeing the chat. Do we have any question?
No, we must have did a good job. I don't see any questions. So our contact information is up on the screen. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. We're always happy to have a conversation.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a very good day, and hopefully we'll see you in our next webinars.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Thanks. Bye.